Welcome to the Gwenton Show. Today we've got an amazing guest for you, someone that has been out in the community, someone that I've known from I was coming up as a young person trying to do youth work, and always ready to come out and support. And just having his presence there made people felt like they were supported. And not on only one occasions, I'm talking always making the time to support our community.
It's really exciting both to sit in a beautiful council chamber, chair meetings with occasionally unruly but mostly respectful people, and try and make decisions for the community good. So you have to think, what am I involved in politics for? And it shouldn't be for self-aggrandizement, it shouldn't be for ambition, it should be to give back to the community what you can and make any area you're representing a better place because of the contribution you make.
No other than Michael Desmond, Councillor Michael Desmond.
Gwenton, it's really lovely to see you. When you're talking about presents, I won't accept any at this stage. No, it's wonderful to be a party to all the good work you do. The really serious things like dealing with the huge problems of knife crime and the problems of poverty in the community, and having a focus on advancing everyone in the community to make sure they feel good about living in London and making progress in their lives.
One confession before we go forward that I must say to you. I used to think you was the mayor. Because when we had these events, you would always turn out with your chain on and you come give out an award and support. And I thought, oh, this is the mayor. It wasn't until years after I learned that you were the Speaker of Hackney. But again, it shows that if you asked to come to an event to empower young people, you were always there. And that's something that not just myself, others felt.
Hackney is one of 5 boroughs that has an elected mayor, so we call the civic leader, who is the first citizen, the Speaker. And the Speaker chairs the council, has a significant position within the authority, and deals with a number of important things, supporting voluntary organisations, raising money for charity, and dealing with social issues, but on a more impartial basis, so that, you know, you're not in any way defined by your political party. So I've been the Speaker twice, which is a great honour. You know, once is an honour, twice is fantastic, and it's an opportunity to put something back into the community, and I've been happy to do so.
And one of the things as well, your roots run deep in Hackney. How long has your family been in this area? Because we need the people to know.
Well, one of the ironies is my parents were born here, but they were very pleased to escape. Ultimately, Hackney's changed a great deal. Originally, my family settled in Hackney years and years ago. In 1854, my great-great-grandfather was living in Dalston, Kingsland, and he essentially had come over from Ireland, and essentially he joined the police. I didn't really know this until I'd looked at Ancestry, and he'd done quite well and become a sergeant, and he's quoted in an incident where he gives a report at the Old Bailey. And I told this when I gave a character witness to someone I was helping, and they were very impressed that I knew this. There was only one quote from my great-great-grandfather. Subsequently, the family moved to Hoxton, and my father was born in Hoxton, which at that time was considered to be something of a den of thieves. And I come from a Jewish background, a Jewish family. My father's father died when he was 13 in 1926, a long time ago. But one of the things that gives me great pleasure and satisfaction is that the local Christian Association, which was the local mission in Hoxton that was run by the traders there, gave them food parcels because there was no DSS, there were no benefits, and they helped this family at a time of great need. My father had to go out for work, and then the family did slightly better, and my grandmother opened a little business in Hoxton Street, 75 Hoxton Street, and people would come in to have perhaps sweets and they'd buy not a packet of cigarettes, but one Woodbine. And that
Yeah.
would often be in tick because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And during the war, that was bombed. And the one thing my grandmother came out with was a frying pan with a steak on it. That was the only thing of value. So we have a really long history going back here. And it's nice to feel that you're back at your roots.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was thinking, 18?
Long time ago.
A lot of people don't even know their great-grandparents, much less. So it's something that's in you. It's not just, because a lot of the time people think, you know what, you're into politics, you're doing it, but this is something that's in you. You're not just helping the people for the sake of helping the people.
The odd thing is that when I moved to Hackney myself, because I was brought up in northwest London, my parents having escaped here, it's a sad they're no longer alive, because they love to see the progress we've made. Now it's burgeoning and one of the most successful boroughs in London. But when I moved here, there were problems. Frequently, your door was being kicked down and your video was being nicked. People don't have videos these days, but there were kids taking things. There was antisocial behaviour. There was a great deal of destitution. A lot of antisocial, as I've said, but the way in which the demographic have changed, schools have been improved immeasurably. Every single secondary school has been rebuilt. Years ago, I had a woman come to see me to beg to try and get her kid to go to a school in another borough because she didn't want the kid to be educated. And yet, about 5-6 years ago, a general practitioner came to my counsellor's surgery begging me to get her son into the local Hackney school. It's a total transformation, and the schools are doing really well now.
And for someone, I went to Hobbiton House.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so for someone that went to school here, I could say that I could see the difference. Even the conduct of the young people when you go in. I've been into the old Hackney Free to give talks, Cardinal Pole, and is it City? What do they call it?
Yes, City College.
Yeah, even the behaviour of the young people, you could tell that they're totally different. We've done some sessions in BSix. We've gone in there, trained up the young people in there. And just to see young people happy to be learning, it was surprising to me because when I was going to school here, it was like, we all have to pretend to be cool. So there was no breathing room for you to, let's focus on education because education school, it was like, no, we're going to be cool first and maybe try and pass our GCSE. So to see that young people now could focus and even the equipment in the school. I went into a school, there was no blackboard. They write on the board with a pen and then it disappears. And I'm like, you know what, the technology and everything, it's good.
It's totally transformed. But you haven't done bad. You've done all right. The point is that I was very unhappy by the standard, the academic standard. No kid should go to school without the opportunity to go on to university and achieve all of their academic goals. And it wasn't happening. There were all sorts of factors, lack of resources, poor buildings, and also peer group pressure.
Yeah.
We've transformed that, totally changed it, so that, say, a primary school in the ward I represent called Nightingale, which is the new primary school, it's like the Eton of Hackney. They have a green room where the kids can do animation and pretend they're Disney. It's got everything, home economics, every particular facility. I was astonished when I went round there. And of course, the kids are doing very well there. And almost all the schools have now got much better academic results. It's not just because of the facilities and the buildings, but, they do have an impact. It's also because we've got really good, committed teachers. And also, when I was first on the council 30 years ago, I asked one of the educationists, when the teacher come in, does the kids stand up? They looked at me as though I was mad. What do you mean stand up? The point is, when I was at school, you stood up just to start the lesson. It wasn't a matter of discipline, it was a matter of respect. I think things have changed, attitudes have changed, and the kids are doing really well now.
I was asked to speak in a boxing academy near the Nightingale Estate. And because I was asked to speak there, I got lost because the roads are now blocked off. And I ended up parking on the outside. So that made me have to walk through. And I looked and I thought, I remember at one stage, people were scared to walk through it. Now, the place looks amazing. I went into school and exactly what you said, the students were so polite. I said to the head teacher when I left and the deputy head, I've never been to a school where I've seen young people so disciplined like this. I said, whatever your staff are doing here, you have to commend them. The boxing school, the young people, and even if they done something wrong, they done push-ups. And I thought to myself, wow, I wonder if other schools took on this way of disciplining young people, where the staff didn't have to say to them, you know what, you done this. They were like, yes, I've done this, I apologize. And I thought, you know what, if we could have other young people learning this, taking that back out into the community with them, we'll have a total different
No, I agree.
place.
I've been to that boxing academy. The principal or head teacher is wonderful. A lot of the kids come from disadvantaged backgrounds. Some of them have been in trouble. But the whole point is they use boxing as a focus. They don't have to be good boxers. It's not to encourage fighting. It's to encourage self-discipline, self-respect, and to enhance self-esteem. And I've been, as I said before we started, involved in a project called Behind Every Kick, whereby a local businessman set up a charity where top football trainers took kids who are perhaps not doing as well as they hoped. Some of them supporting arson, presumably, is something terrible that should be avoided at all costs, but we won't go into that. And they got very strict levels of football training in a disciplined environment, played against each other, even those who might otherwise have differences with other groupings. And it's had a huge impact, and that charity is going really well. So you should never give up. Even if kids are not achieving all their goals at the beginning, when they go to school, they should be brought up to the level they can achieve their goals, both financially, emotionally, and socially.
Okay. So with that saying, you normally hear we haven't got funding to do things.
Where have you heard that? Oh, Hackney, yes.
So have you heard of the Poker Fund, Proceeds of Crimes Act? What do you think?
The Proceeds of Crime Act.
Yeah. So
Oh, I know of it, yes.
Yeah, so the money that comes from that is meant to be reinvested back into the community. And a lot of people that I've asked, they were like, what's that? How do we apply for that? And it's the same like the Safer Neighbourhoods Fund that comes out every year. You could get up to £5,000 if you're going to do something to support your community. And I think a lot of people in the community don't know that these funds are available to them. And that's something that I'm trying to raise.
It's a very good point, Gwen. There are small grants. There's also a charity called Hackney Parochial that was started years and years ago that is also able to offer small seed corn grants to small charities. We're not talking about mega bucks, we're talking about small sums of money. And one of the other things I wanted to mention to you, I sometimes do citizenship ceremonies. I don't decide who becomes a citizen, that's the Home Office and the government, but I'm able to give them the certificate and tell them a few pep talks about what it is to be British, and how wonderful Hackney is and things like that. And a lot of the people coming here are so aspirational. They're in the creative arts, they're in finance, they're in business, they're in commerce. There are others who, come on asylum who come from impoverished backgrounds. But the demographic has changed and there are so many people keen to succeed here. That really embellishes the borough and enhances our prospects and also gives us better spending power, because if people have got money, spend it in local shops, it then enhances the commercial basis of the local retail outlets.
So that being said, I know you're someone that's always got a plan up your sleeve. What's next? What's next?
Well, I've been a councillor for 30 years. I've been the speaker twice. Hackney has totally transformed. It's not perfect, though. There are still lots of casework issues I have to take up. There's a lot of problems with mental health. There's a lot of property due to the cost of living crisis. So it's not, life is a moving escalator. You never stop. But we've got to deal with cynicism and alienation in society. And when I speak to young people, I give them the opportunity, through my experience, having achieved quite a few things in a life that could have been wasted just supporting Arsenal or something like that. I've done a few things that I think are beneficial and worthwhile, and I like to encourage people to work for organisations, help with various schemes, and also tackle society's problems. Like I was saying before about the issue of knife crime, it isn't something that has to happen. No kid should take a knife out with them, and we have to tackle the causes and the reasons, because we can't have that anywhere in London, let alone here in Hackney. So for me personally, I might stand for Parliament in Kent. We'll see what happens with the selections for the forthcoming election here. I'm still doing a lot of work here on the council on planning. I was for a while vice chair of the pensions committee. Now, this is an interesting issue. I went to the pensions committee for a quiet life. You know, get through the Blackwall Tunnel, come to Hackney, you want to sit down and have a quiet meeting. Quiet life, you'll be joking. There were campaigns, quite understandable and legitimate campaigns, that we shouldn't invest in fossil fuels because we don't want to have global warming. The situation is, of course, we don't want global warming, but we had Christmas cards written by kids that the campaigners had asked to write to us saying, look to our future, don't ruin the world. So there was a lot of pressure because of that, and we had to try and invest more ethically, which we have done. So it's not, nothing is easy. Local politics, national politics, but I'm proud of what we've achieved in Hackney, which is a much, much better borough than it was 25, 30 years ago.
So if you had one bit of advice to a young person out there now that wanted to get involved in politics, what would you say to them?
Well, actually, I was in the north of England, that's just past Watford, by the way, on business this week. And I went into a joinery shop, and there was someone doing a plan for a kitchen and someone doing this, that, and the other. And one of the women said that her son was studying politics at uni, and I gave my card, and he's already emailed me. He's interested, perhaps visiting the town hall. I think the first thing is to not be alienated, but to feel that you can make a difference. If you join, say, the Labour Party, you don't have to go to branch meetings every month. You don't have to get involved. But if you go to a few meetings, you put your toe in the water and you find that people are interested in what you say and hopefully agree with you, you can then perhaps stand for election within the party, like as a member of the General Committee or the Executive. Or you can even seek to stand for the council. And then, once you've got a few years of experience, you can stand for Parliament. But, you know, I think it was Mao Zedong said, you have to make the first step to go on a 100-mile walk. So you mustn't be cynical, even though times are very difficult and people feel they can't make the impact they want. You have to start somewhere and hopefully achieve your objective.
Okay. So what would we say to that, Paul? What would we want Michael to say into the camera, to the people out there, before we wrap up?
I would like to ask him what it's like, or what would it be like for a young person who wanted to get into politics in 2024 as opposed to when you got into politics. Is there a big difference now than there is then? Is it easier to get into politics now because everybody seemingly has a voice? Or is it more of a closed door thing as it appeared to be when you got into politics? If that makes sense.
I understand it. There is a time lag, and people don't always see the shifting sands. Diane Abbott, our local MP in Hackney North and Stoke Newington, was the first black female MP in 1987, and she was at the cutting edge, and it was very difficult for her to get nominated and selected. Now we have many black and ethnic minority MPs, many black and ethnic minority councillors, and we also have people from all of the communities in representative roles, both in the council and nationally. So in that sense, it's somewhat easier. But on the other side, because society has changed and people are saying they're all the same, it doesn't make a difference, and people feel bitter, especially during the cost of living crisis. People who, like me, were anti-Brexit are upset about Brexit. The point is, you should focus your attention on trying to change things for the good of your community. And if you want to get involved in politics and you're 16, 17, you can actually join the Labour Party, that's my party, from the age of 14. And you can start in a very, very delicate manner, just gently. And then, it's not a good idea anyway becoming obsessed. You should have some other interests, not just politics, otherwise you become very nerdish. You should take an interest in a particular speciality, like young people's social activities and generating things, or music or whatever, and then make sure your expertise is passed on to the political meeting so the political party benefits from your opinions. But everyone has a chance. Number 10 Downing Street may seem a closed shop, but your passage there, what Disraeli called the greasy pole is still possible.
Thank you. So there you have it, people. You've heard from Michael Desmond himself, and what an amazing councillor he's been to thousands of people within the borough. And as I said, he's done such a good job. For many years, we thought he was the mayor of Hackney. But what's the difference? He turns up, he supports, and he's been transparent throughout. If you see him today, he's the same person when you see him tomorrow. And not many people like that. Stay tuned.